Hello everybody, this is Banksy. He's our adored 2-year-old British blue cat, and I'm going to tell the story of how he went missing and how he was found. It's March of 2020. We're in the middle of the COVID lockdown, and one day our cat just wasn't there. He was allowed out in the garden. He used to go out through the cat flap. He'd chill out in the garden for a short time, but he never disappeared. This time was different. No sign of him anywhere. So a day goes by, we're really worried. He doesn't come home. That's his friend, Comet, by the way. He doesn't come home, and we're pretty desperate. We do all the right things. We go out, leaflet the neighbours, put up posters. We offer a reward. We put a thing on social media, report him to the microchip company. They send out an alert, the usual thing. We did everything we were supposed to do. Absolutely no sign. Lots of people being very kind, but really no sign of him at all. So days go by, the kids are distraught, we're all distraught, and of course it's the lockdown, so we're all at home, and we really notice him missing even more than perhaps we would otherwise, and we're desperate. So 6 days go by, and I really am starting to think we're never going to see him again. And I'm just Googling, what do you do when you've lost your pet, in case there's anything that I hadn't thought of. And after quite a long Google search, by no means is it the first website that comes up, I came across Becky Willoughby's website, who describes herself as a psychic animal communicator. And I have to be honest, I was a bit sceptical about that, because I'm a professional who really deals in logic and facts, not stuff like this, and this really isn't my scene at all. But, I was desperate by this stage, so I had a look at her website. It looked pretty legitimate, she seemed very nice. The testimonials seemed genuine. She has a YouTube channel, and I looked on that. There were various video testimonials, and they seemed pretty genuine too. And I just thought, well, what on earth have I got to lose? So I contacted her. She came back to me. She asked me for some photographs and the circumstances of how he was lost. And then she said she would try and communicate with him and see what she could find out. And she said that she uses Google Earth and Google Maps to try and make sense of what she's being shown, so that she can try and suggest areas where he might be. Anyway, as I say, I wasn't too hopeful, but I really thought this is really the only thing left. So she said she would do the communication tomorrow evening. She did, and then she rang me, and she gave me various bits of information. Firstly, she said he wasn't dead. Secondly, she said he hadn't been stolen. And the third thing she said was that he had crossed the road. He told her that he'd crossed the road. She'd asked him, and he'd said he had. And then he showed her various things, including a pub, and a block of flats and a bakery underneath it, and roads running round near there. And she said, I keep seeing some large, what look like dark garage doors, and he keeps telling me that he's trapped and he can't get out. So she said, I think you need to go out and look. She'd looked on Google Maps, and she said, there's a pub near you, what looks to be like a block of flats and what looks to be like a bakery. Go out and look in that area first, see what you find, let me know, and if nothing happens, I'll have another go. So we went straight out. I said to my other half, right, get your coat on, we're going out. We went out. It was about 10 o'clock at night. COVID lockdown, so no one around, which I think in the end helped in a way. So we walked around the area, she said, looked all around the pub, no sign. We found the block of flats, the disused bakery. We looked all around there. We were calling his name. We couldn't find him. We couldn't find anything that corresponded with what she'd said. So he's just moved, so I'm getting up. So I looked across the road, and running behind the pub was a little road called Windmill Mews, which was one of the roads that she had suggested we look at. I'd never seen this little road before, and I'd certainly never been down it, but we went down it calling his name, and suddenly we heard him crying for us. And we were just rooted to the spot in shock. So we carried on down this little road, and there was an old disused garage with what looked to be dark garage doors, and the voice or the noise was coming from in there, and it was an insistent crying. He'd obviously heard our voices calling his name. So we went up to this garage. It was covered in sort of dead furniture and bits of wood and God knows what else. No one had obviously been in or out of it for a long time. And above the garage doors were some like a wooden flap, and a very heavy wooden flap, and the crying was coming from just behind the flap. So we managed to push this flap open, and there was our cat. He was thinner, a lot thinner, as you'd expect, but as you can see, he's quite a big cat, so he could probably afford to lose it. And he was a bit thirsty, although other than that, he looked in pretty good nick, to be honest. And we grabbed him, and my partner cuddled him, and he was just obviously desperately pleased to be found. We took him home. We were all in shock because we couldn't believe what had just happened. And we told the kids, they were just in tears of joy, and we got our cat back. And I phoned Becky and I said, you know, within half an hour of your phone call, we went out to exactly the area that you said. We found our cat. And we would never have thought to look in that area, although it wasn't far from the house. We leafleted all around the area, but not that particular part, because we didn't think to leaflet a block of flats or some little mews road that I didn't know existed. And we leafleted further up that area, but not round there. And also, to be frank, we thought that he couldn't get out onto the road. I mean, obviously that was wrong. And there he was. So we would never have found him without her. There's no question about that. We would never have looked there. We would never have found him. But thanks to her, we got our cat back. And I am eternally, eternally grateful, Becky, for everything that you've done for us and our family. And for Banksy, who you can see is now none the worse for his ordeal. So that's our story.